Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Very excited today. I've got a holistic life coach who empowers professional dads to work fewer hours per week, generate more revenue, and have more fun while doing it. Super excited to be talking to Coach Dean Brown. Hey, Coach, are you ready to go?
I am ready to rock and roll from home.
Right on, ready to rock. Awesome. So now we always start here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Oh man, it's just seeing the growth in people. As a life coach, I'm always working on helping people get past the things that are bothering them, that are holding them back, that they don't even realize are holding them back. And when they can be brought to that place where they realize, wait a second, you're right, that's what I've been doing wrong, and to give them that opportunity to not only just be aware of it, but to make the choices that are required to get past that and start actually building their business, building their life, regenerating their relationships, adding another stream of income, whatever the case may be that they want. But with professional dads today, there's a lot of the suicide rate is up. Professional dads don't get a lot of attention from government services, recognition from family. We're always told that traditional thing: be a man, don't show your emotions, you're not allowed to
Mm-hmm.
cry, all that fun stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just been a real transformational thing for me to see and to share. So just loving it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you've got some really great stories there, it just kind of keeps you moving in the right direction.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
on the other hand, though, we do tend to hit some bad notes on the way as well. And I'm wondering, can you share with us something that went wrong, something that didn't go as planned, and maybe something that
Sure.
we can do to maybe avoid it ourselves, or even just recover if it happens?
Well, for me, I was raised by a World War II fighter pilot. Uh, he was a very aggressive man, very powerful. I grew up in a small town in northern Ontario, and he was the mayor, the leading business owner. He owned the biggest business, and he was the secretary of the Lions Club. So he pretty much ran the town. He even loaned more money than the local bank. And this is going back, of course, because I'm not talking about yesterday. I'm talking about yesteryear, and it was one of those things that taught me the wrong way. He molded me into him, and this is what society does to a lot of people. And it led me to two attempts at suicide, to be honest with you, Tim.
Oh
And it
wow.
was just one of those things that on the second one it was actually my youngest daughter that wasn't there to say goodbye to, that saved me that time. And that's when I realized, wait a second, the universe is saving me for something powerful. I've got a purpose, I've got a message, I've got some experience, right? So it's time to make a difference. And that's when my real true personal journey started, when I realized I was doing things based on what the world expected of me rather than who I actually was. And that paradigm shift, that internal growth factor, really made a difference for me. And I started to just become the true me, the connect with my spiritual self, understand what it was to connect with my emotions, just understand what it was to have true connections with people rather than just trying to intimidate and manipulate. And it's just made a total difference in everything.
Wow, wow, that's definitely a powerful story. I mean, that's always tough, and especially, I mean, I think that just as parents, I mean, I'm a dad as well, and we don't. There's no handbook. We have no idea what we're doing half the time,
That's right, buddy.
and we're just learning from what our parents did, who also had no idea what they were doing, and on top of that, as you mentioned, we're all encouraged to know what you're doing and be strong, and if you seek help you're weak, all these crazy terrible programming that
Right,
makes us go down terrible paths,
right.
and it is encouraging, I think, to see that there's got to be a reason why there's so many life coaches out there now, because I think it is starting to get to a point where people are realizing that, what, I don't have to know everything, I can go ask for help.
That's
Is
right.
that, do you see that happening as well?
Big time. There's been this COVID thing has really done a real shift right across the globe, where we've been forced to either become aware or totally ignore ourselves. Pick one, because you're being sent home, or your workplace is being restricted, uh, your activities are being restricted, your personal reality is being restricted, or you're being empowered and inspired to break out of that shell and become your true self. And I'm seeing extremes in both areas. And I actually am registered as a mentor in a men's group to help with suicide prevention. And I've also volunteered in prison, medium security prison here in Canada several years ago, to be a pre-release counselor as well as a spiritual leader. So I've seen extreme circumstances of individuals that are either well on their way or have no idea what their way is. So yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, I did a fair bit of studying of psychology, both in school and also personally as well.
Cool.
And one of the things that I've learned many times is that, you know, oftentimes if you want to make a change, if you want to change a habit or something like that, you need some sort of pattern shift, something that like interrupts you and makes you think differently and go down a different path. And I think that's the thing, is that COVID has changed everybody's routine around the globe. Yeah. And so I think you're right. I think it's creating an opportunity, I think, for people to decide, you know, what is it you want? I mean, you know, the routine you had before of, you know, whatever it was that you were doing to distract you from everything else that's happening is now gone. So now what? Now it's an opportunity to kind of either, you know, look at it and grow, or I don't know, find something else to distract you. But even that's
right. You know, where do you go with that?
It's going on a year now. So, you know, and it doesn't look like it's going to be changing too drastically over the next little while. I mean, I think we're going to be, you know, loosening up a bit, but yeah, I think we are in a point right now where we can all make different choices, right?
Absolutely. And the thing that you mentioned, you subtly mentioned awareness, and you came right out and said choices. And the thing is that we're born with two things. We're born with awareness and choice. And we either discover our awareness and learn to make those choices, or like you mentioned, distractions, where we just continue to be distracted from that awareness. And a lot of us don't understand that the ego is no longer our friend. The ego is actually that thing that generates fear, doubt, confusion, and keeps us from growth and keeps us from getting to that next level. And when you can become aware of that and actually choose to make a difference, that's when the ball starts to roll, and like a snowball down a hill, man. And it just gets bigger and better, and just it can't be stopped once you're on it, because you can't unlearn.
Yeah.
Right. You either start to learn or you start to avoid learning.
Yep.
Right. So it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a beautiful thing to help people with. And I can always tell when I'm speaking to somebody whether they're bullshitting me or not. Excuse for the language there. And we always, or at least myself, I can always recognize when someone is lying to themselves.
Yeah.
I can feel it. I can see it. I can sense it. And it's just one of those things where I know right away whether they're on the right track or whether they're avoiding the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the ego, you know, not really helping us anymore. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, we've got this survival brain that's, you know, meant to, you know, solve problems and, you know, keep us alive. And just, we've grown technologically and as a society so much that, you know, all these really basic problems, I mean, there's still problems in some parts of the world, but for a lot of us, those are not problems anymore. And so now our brains are sort of trying to create problems that don't even really exist in order to solve them. Right.
That's right.
And that is essentially really holding us back. I mean, our problem is that we think we shouldn't have any problems.
Right. You know, something that Einstein said was, you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that you created it with, which means you got to get to that next level to solve your problems, because your ego is at your level where it wants to protect you, hold you back from that so-called unknown. But the thing is, there's so much information out there. There's so many opportunities to ask for help. You can get a mentor and a coach that is just willing to give you some value, that won't even charge you for that these days, depending on what it is you're looking for and where you look for it. But even if you just hit Google, you know, a lot of people don't realize that between Google, YouTube, and Facebook, you can pretty much find anything you want to find. Mm-hmm. And there's public groups out there, there's private groups out there, there's all kinds of help. And if you're in a place where you really want to ramp it up, get a coach and a mentor, and be willing to put some skin in the game, and really, really get to that next level, because it's not just one next level.
Yeah. Well, that leads us to the next topic too, because, you know, as you mentioned, I mean, there is no shortage of information. We can get anything we want at our fingertips. It's right in our phone, like literally at our fingertips. So now the information is not out there. It's not that you don't know what to do. I mean, you know what to do. What is in the way really is these blind spots. It's these things we can't really see. It's all that stuff. And that's where, you know, having some help is useful. And you mentioned, you know, getting a coach and all that stuff. But now, you know, for you personally, you know, what is your, you know, idea about, you know, what do you do? Do you participate in mastermind? Like, how do you get help in your business?
Well, the thing was that I don't teach anything that doesn't resonate with me, that hasn't happened to me, that I haven't experienced myself. I can't help somebody if I don't know what I'm talking about. And we got to have that experience and master the truth of it for ourselves in order to help other people with the same thing. So yeah, I've been through numerous different coaches. I've been coached through Brendan Burchard's program. I've been coached with, I could go through a huge list. And right now I'm actually involved in a mastermind, more than one, as a matter of fact. I have my own private group where I also share this value. And I also am involved in other private groups that resonate with the things that I need to learn. And that's the beauty of it, is that we are all in a place where well, the law of attraction is a big part of it, Tim, because everything starts with a thought. And then when you go from that thought, if you focus on it, you're going to end up with a feeling that resonates with that thought. And Joe Dispenza talks about head-heart coherence. When you get that vibrational coherence from your thoughts to your feelings, then the next step is to talk about it with that same passion, and then to take inspired action based on that. And when you do that, you broadcast that out into the universe, and the universe starts to attract that to you. I don't know if you understand quantum mechanics at all, but it went from a theory to a law in the last 5 years. Yeah. They've actually scientifically proven the law, or excuse me, the quantum mechanics. And they've actually also scientifically proven the law of attraction with quantum mechanics. So if you don't seek, you're not going to find. And the power is that if you seek with passion, with truth to yourself, what you're going to find is a greater self.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I mean, we spoke about the, you know, the old program that we have of like being, you know, if you're looking for help, you're weak and all that stuff. But I mean, when you look around, I mean, the thing that I like to think about is like, if I'm taking advice from somebody who I don't want to be, then that's the wrong person. I mean, you wouldn't take financial advice from someone who's on the street, or, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. You take advice from people who are where you want to be. And so right. If you look at the most successful people in all the world, you know, you can look at athletes, you can look at business people. I mean, when you talk to them and you listen to their stories and all that stuff, they all have coaches or mentors or mastermind groups, or they're always learning and growing. And, you know, it's just the total opposite of what we're being told. You know, you'd be a successful, strong man, you know, you don't need anybody's help. You could do it yourself, you know,
right.
But that just doesn't seem to line up with the reality of the people who are actually successful and strong. Yeah. I mean, you know, all these, you know, professional athletes, you know, they are all better than the coaches that they're coaching them. Why do they need a coach? Why don't they just go out there and do what they're doing? Like, it just like, why do we not make this connection, right? For us in our own lives, that we might need somebody to coach us along the way, you know, right?
Absolutely. I think of Tiger Woods, Tom Brady. I mean, even Oprah Winfrey has a coach. And these people that are their coaches are not at the level. They just have the understanding of analytics and awareness and how to get to that next level. I mean, if you're like golf, Tiger Woods has adjusted his approach to his stance, to his swing, to his mental approach. How many times in his career? And what happens each time? He ends up back on top.
Yep.
And this is the only way to approach life. If you want to keep getting to that next level, you got to keep finding someone that can help you get to that next level, because if you could do it yourself, you'd already be there.
Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned society, how society has always been in a place where we've, you know, I've heard somebody call it dead peer pressure, where you're being taught stuff from generational experience that actually doesn't mean anything today.
Yep.
And you know, what my dad taught me doesn't mean anything today. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't even, you know, he would buy computers for other companies, but he would never use one. So it was like, you know, I don't understand that. You need to know what you're, you know, but the point remains that you've got to seek that next level, and you've got to embrace it, because that's who you are meant to be. The universe puts challenges and problems in front of us, not to force us to fail, but to force us to recognize that that lesson is the way we get to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So that we can actually be our best, be that person that we're meant to be, because you're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop growing till your last breath. You're going to be in a place of growth if you understand that's what's required.
Yep. Yep. So now on top of that, in order to be a rock star, you're going to have to practice, right?
100%.
Right. So now, you've found a coach, you found somebody that's going to help you along your way. You found somebody to check out your blind spots, right? Your wingman, so to speak.
Yeah.
And now it's time to, get good at whatever it is that you're going to do. So tell me, how do you practice? How does practice make perfect mean? What does that mean in your life and in your business?
Well, I shared a book with you previously, Strength Finders 2.0. And we mentioned society, how we're an ego and how we're taught to build your weakness, but that doesn't bring your strengths up. If you take Michael Jordan, for example, he tried golf and realized that it wasn't for him and went back to basketball because he knew his strength was in basketball. Had he tried to be golf pro, he never would have been a pro. He would have just been an average golfer. But he went back to basketball because that's where his strengths were.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. So practice your strengths. The thing that makes a difference for me, as much as I acknowledge my weaknesses, I don't put a lot of effort into improving them. I just recognize them and move around them.
Yeah.
And, as a business person, I still need to know how to reach out, and contact with my leads and do those things that I'm not good at, but only insofar as to teach the people that I hire to do it well.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it all. It means that I'm going to know what's the best for my company and then hire someone else to do that, and then keep, contact with them on a regular basis, daily at first, then weekly, then monthly, just to make sure they're on track, be available, answer questions. But in the meantime, I'm working on my strengths. Because that's how I help people the greatest, when I am my greatest, and I can't get there if I'm not focusing on my strengths.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that's another bit of programming that comes from even from school. I mean, I think about when my son brings home a report card and you just, I think it's just ingrained. I don't say anything about it, but I look through that report card and I see all these good grades and then I see one that's like, oh, that's the lowest one. And it seems to be that we focus on that one, right? Oh, you got to get this grade up. You got to get, and I mean, that's just in real life, later on, that's not practical. We don't need to be good at everything.
No.
And I suppose I get that you've got to have a pass from, some of the things that you're even very weak at, but I'm not even sure if that's necessarily true, because, when you get into the point where, especially what we're talking about is, your own business, you're working from home. Well, you just hire somebody to do the thing you're terrible at. Why even bother messing it up? Right. Exactly. and I mean, in life, everybody's got their kind of thing, there's always somebody that's going to be good at the thing that you're not good at. When we're setting up, when I'm setting up a band, I'm not going to just try to get a drummer and try to get him to play bass better. Like it's just, you hire your drummer, he plays drums, he doesn't even touch the bass. That's right. And I think that
the bass drum,
other than the bass drum, you're right. Yes. Your music then.
Right.
but that's, I think, some more, just old programming, and, you don't need to be focused on getting the weakness up. You're right. Yeah. Grab your strength, go focus on that, just get better at that. Because now the other thing too, is that it probably brings you more passion in your life too. Right.
Precisely. Because there's a mantra for us entrepreneurs: do none of what you hate, less of what you don't like, and more of what you love. Because if you're not doing what you love, why are you there? You're not going to get up with inspired action. You're not going to be happy when you fall asleep. You're not going to go through your day thinking that, hey, I can't wait to do this again tomorrow, unless you're doing something you love. Yeah. And the irony is that the education system is teaching us how to be an employee, not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's not giving us that impetus, that experience, that awareness that to develop ourselves is the key. It's that, like you said, focus on the C-, not the A+, right? Just to keep everybody at that average place where they don't actually realize, wait a second, I'm really good at such and such. I'm going to start a business doing that. Yep. Because of two things. I'm good at it and I love it. Yep. Right. So why not? Why not make money at what you love? And it only makes perfect sense but the system's designed so that there's people to do the work. Because if there's not someone out there doing the work doesn't get done, right? So then you can't hire someone that is better at what you are not good at,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So there's that crazy balance in there that, and we're in a paradigm shift right now, my friend. This 2020 was a real shift in the way the world looks at employment and business, and it forced us to actually take stock of how we do it personally. And we are all in a place of, being in that circumstance, that situation where the opportunity is right in our face.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it?
Yep, I agree 100%. So now next topic. So we've got we've got our wingman. we have our process on we're focusing on our strengths. We're getting better. We're working at it. And now you get into your jam room. What does that look like? How do you set up an environment where you're actually going to be successful and where you're going to actually be productive?
Well, to give you an example, when I first started building my business, I did everything off of one laptop and tried to create content with one screen. You're always minimizing this, dropping that, losing track of your tabs. You need to maximize your tools. You need to maximize your workspace. You need to maximize everything that you're going to do needs to be in such a place, in such a way, in such a format that actually makes it easier to do what you're doing. If you're struggling with something, then it's not set up right. If you're not thinking happily about something, then you need to change your mindset. If for me right now, I work with 4 monitors. I have 3 nice big 24-inch monitors in front of me, and I have my nice 17-inch laptop. And I work with high-end equipment so that I'm clear, I'm focused, I can function easily, efficiently, quickly. And it's not a struggle. It's a joy. Like, if you wouldn't buy a guitar where the I can't remember what the word is for the thing that keeps the string above the neck, but you want a short one so that you don't have to work your hands too hard.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. You don't want a big tall one where you got to really press down on the string in order to get the note. So it doesn't matter whether you want to get a piano that takes a light touch on the key to get that note. You want a drum that responds with a tap rather than a pound. You want, from music to if you're going to be a landscaper, you want to keep all your cutting stuff sharp. I mean, like George Washington said, give me 10 hours to cut a tree down, I'll spend 7 hours sharpening the saw.
Yeah.
So, it's all about being comfortable and efficient in what you do. Be aware of the tools that you need to get going, and be aware of how those tools either propel you forward or hold you back, and work in that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like I actually have a giant monitor, which is great. However, my partner, she has got 2 monitors and they're much smaller than mine, but I go over there and I'm like, I'm jealous. So I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I think 2 monitors are better than one, even if it's a big one. Because, depending on what your work is. Yeah. I mean, having the 2 monitors gives you the ability to have, something on this screen to be able to compare to the other one. But, I hear you totally that, invest a little bit into that, infrastructure that you've got at home, to make sure that you're going to be as productive as possible, because it will pay back in dividends. I mean, if you're struggling to get work done because you just don't have the right environment, well, then you're starting at a negative, right? And you're not even going to be excited to be there, right?
That's right. And the extra hard effort is not inspiring towards happiness to want to keep doing it. You're just going to get frustrated with yourself, with the results, and you're going to share that vibration is put out there, and you're just going to attract that, and you're going to get more of it. And so, that doesn't even speak to your personal habits, to your life habits. You want to make sure that you're not so stressed from working so hard that you bark at the wife when she comes home, if she happens to still be working, or when you go down for your break, or take your exercise time, or go for your walk. You don't want to say, I don't want to walk with you, I'm going alone so I can get some stress relief. No, you want to include those people in your life, and the ones that are part of your passion, right? and build that. It's not about just, I mean, you don't build just the business. You got to, working from home, you've got to build a balance. And that gives me an opportunity to talk about my power list. So a power list is 5 things that you focus on each day that you determine the night before based on how well you did the day before. What did you do well? And always thank yourself. Don't spank yourself. Be in that place where you can be happy about what you've done well and just recognize what you didn't do so well. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. Give yourself permission to do well. And remember, you're not working on the C plus getting to, or C minus getting to a C plus. You're working on that A getting to an A plus, right? That's where you learn how to find a VA. Or, I mean, you mentioned that you hired your VA recently, and you know that's one of those beautiful things about building a balance. You know what you need help with. So with the power list, you have 5 things that you do every day. 1 personal, and that can be diet, exercise, mindset, self-development, you know, time with your mentor, your coach, whatever. And then 4 things that are IPA, income producing activities. And it doesn't matter what they are, it just matters that they are part of your goal set. That you've got, and I hope everybody has some goals, because if you don't have goals, there's no plan. And if there's no plan, it's just a wish, right? So please, hopefully everybody that listens to this, start with a goal.
Yeah.
A goal that you really have passion for. And if it's a 5-year, 10-year goal, that's okay. As a matter of fact, that means it's a bigger goal. Wahoo, yeah, go for it. But understand that it takes daily effort to get there. Nobody wins the race by not taking any steps towards the finish line.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. That's gold. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess that leads to the next thing, because it's time for your guest solo. So tell me a little bit more about what you're excited about in your business and how that can help us.
Absolutely. So right now I'm really having fun building my private group. Previously, I didn't work with a group. I just did all my work on my personal profile from an organic standpoint, doing go live, stuff like that. But I'm really finding that I'm enjoying what we're doing right now, is being on podcasts or interviews. So I've been taking that very much to heart over the last little while. I've really been enjoying being a guest speaker on podcasts, as well as hosting my own form of a podcast. Now, it's not officially in coherence with the traditional definition of a podcast, because I do everything on Facebook, but it's about bringing in people that show value to what, not just what I'm doing, but give them an opportunity to share what they're doing with my network. And of course, it's reciprocal. You know, I get to go on their network to help them. And the new business paradigm is all about collaboration. It's not about climbing on the other guy's shoulders to make yourself better. It's about helping each other get better. And that's the way it's supposed to be today. And that's what I do in my group. That private group gives me control. First of all, everybody that's in that group wants to be there. Secondly, everybody that's in that group is my friend. So it's a family. And that gives me the opportunity to not only nurture that family, but also learn from that family, because they are all there by choice, but they may be better than me at certain things. And they can put input into the group. They can add value into the group because of that value or that knowledge or that experience, and make the group that much more coherent, that much more of a community, right? Remember back in the day, they said it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it takes a coherent group to build a life for everybody. We can't do it alone. And that's where, you know, you get the groups. And I've had people that are, you know, making 10 million a year, which is not where I am yet, but they're more than happy to say, hey, I love what you're doing too, man. Let's, you know, I'll talk in your group, you talk in my group. Yeah. And that's powerful when you get into a place where you realize that, wait a second, I just have to be my best to attract other people that are being their best. And when we work together, that's even more. I mean, you remember that thing about the law of attraction. Hopefully you understand that from a scientific perspective, if you have a vibration, a frequency, and you add the same frequency, it magnifies it. It makes it that much more powerful. You know that because you're a musician. So you don't want 2 different frequencies or sounds in there, because it's not coherent. It doesn't build. It doesn't make the whole thing more beautiful. But when you do have that, and you're in synchronicity, and you're building on each other, everything gets better. Everything works more smoothly. Everybody's more happy at the end result. And it's just watching these people that are watching us step in and say, hey, that guy made a mistake and admitted it. I can make mistakes too. I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that is huge when if you're willing to make a mistake and admit it and show people how to fix that mistake, that's the greatest lesson of all.
Love it. Love it. Right on. So now, how do we find more information about this?
You would, if you want to contact me, you would go to www.mypersonalreality.ca, or you would find my personal private Facebook group. I shouldn't say personal, but private Facebook group at My Personal Reality. It's a private group on Facebook, and you can join us. Of course, in the show notes, I'll be sharing my link tree, which has all my different stuff in it, and you can just connect with the link tree link, and takes you everywhere that I happen to have my foot in online.
Thank you so much, Coach Dean Brown, for rocking out with me today. That was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed that too. Thank you.
Right on. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.
Yeah.